Hello, beautiful humans. How are you? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about spring as it has sprung, and we're going to be doing some Easter-inspired and spring-inspired florals and decorations that can be useful for your consoles and your dining tables, or wherever you choose to do some decorations, maybe on your countertop or wherever. But I'll give you some tips that you can kind of like mix and match and use them in different spaces in your homes. And I'll give you some sort of like various ways that are a little bit trendy nowadays, and you can kind of like bring that into your homes and, you know, make it a little bit more impactful. Let's get started. I kind of chose this little stand that I already had in my studio with this beautiful checkered pink counter. I brought a little bit of a cloth, although I really like what this checkered looks like, but I wanted to mix it a little bit with the fabric, because nowadays fabrics are becoming such a huge deal and I love them regardless. So I think it will be really nice to kind of use the fabric but not necessarily cover the whole table. Even if it's just like a blank table or whatever, you can sort of like use your tablecloths in a little bit of a unique way and artful way that is a little different than the usual, just like putting the cloth all the way over your tables, although there's nothing wrong with that. But layering nowadays have become such a beautiful thing with fabric and the movement that it creates. So I brought my beautiful dirty pink cloth. This is from H&M Homes, so you can get really nice table linens from H&M Homes. I love them there. I'm just gonna kind of play and see how it's gonna sit on this table, and I may move it around, but I'm just gonna sort of like play and see how it's gonna look. Okay, I just kind of layered it over here and I crunched them all up. I love the draping down from my table or the counter, wherever it is. And I love part of the drapes kind of touching the floor and kind of like layer on the ground as well. It's such a beautiful thing when you put everything together. So I'm kind of putting it here. It's probably not gonna hold because it's a bit heavy coming down, but as I place things on top of it, it's just gonna look really fun and exciting and really artful. So let's just kind of play and see what we end up with. Alrighty, I'm gonna start with my flowers because, I mean, you can't go wrong with the spring blooms, all the beautiful colors, the beautiful scent. You should smell these beautiful flowers. They're just beautiful. It's heavenly because they're so beautiful and colorful. I want to kind of bring them in and see where I want to place them, and then I'll go ahead and use the accessories, the bunnies and the eggs and whatnot to kind of place around it. This already on its own, as I'm just placing them, they just have such a presence that you almost don't need a lot of things. Look at these beautiful grape hyacinths and the movement it has. It's just gorgeous, and I think when you just place it down here as it drapes down the table over the drapes, it just makes so much more of an impact and presence. I like this one because it's a bit taller. I may bring some stand to give them a little bit of a different height, probably right here, and then I'll put this one somewhere here. You can pretty much use anything for rising your florals. You can grab a big bowl, you can grab like a cake stand or whatever, because it's gonna go under. I have this jewelry box that is already pretty on its own, so I may even put it as is, but just to give you a little bit more perspective, if I were to put it under my drapes, my tablecloth, and put this on top and sort of like double them over here, it just looks really cool and funky. I'm gonna bring this over here and probably put it here for now and then see. I always love the asymmetrical use and an asymmetrical way of putting things. So always doubling two things in one side and bring another to the other side. It just makes everything super impactful and really cool. And of course you want the eye travel within the flowers, and knowing that this has more brighter flowers and it already has its own presence, I want to put it on this side so it kind of catches its own attention. Just gonna go ahead and put the plant on top of the tablecloth. We'll let that drape down. Okay, let's just gonna accessorize this whole thing and see where we end up. One thing I want to mention, I always choose simplicity over anything. So although we may put a lot or many different elements on the table, but we just want to make sure it's simple and artful. So less is more sometimes, but more is more sometimes. But it's just a matter of not cluttering it and making it super artful and creative. I'm gonna start with maybe my candles, because they're my taller elements. So I wanna kind of bring my height and get a sense of where my table kind of goes in terms of height, and then just go ahead and play with the smaller elements with the nests and the eggs and the bunnies to go in between, okay? So let's just bring the candles and see where we wanna place them. So I've chosen these candles. I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up using them, but I love this. These dirty pinks, again, goes with my tablecloth. I'm gonna put them right here. And again, my asymmetrical use of doing things, doubling here and sort of playing with the height of this one being tall, and maybe putting this somewhere over here to play with the yellow. And again, I may move things, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Let's bring out the eggs and see where we want to place them. I probably want to put some into the flowers and just on the cloth and on the table. Alrighty, so just brought a whole bunch of elements into the table to see where I want to place them and where I want to kind of play with and what I want to take out. The silvers, as you know, it's also another amazing trend that is happening, especially these sort of goblets kind of a thing. They're so beautiful. Found them in the thrift store and antique stores. So I've already placed some Spanish moss, the dried moss already, which is a bit gray, so it kind of plays with the grayness of the silver. Just putting a couple or 3 eggs in there and just going and placing them in between the design. These ones are already nested, these cute little egg quails into a nest. I love placing them into the plants sometimes and sort of having a little hidden thing in between, just to break up the flowers. And then I already have some nests that it already just as is, so I can always go ahead and put some eggs in there. I've already used double-sided tape and placed them, attached the eggs together. So I'm just gonna see where I wanna put them. I think I'll put some down here. So cute. Maybe I'll bring some eggs on this side. So making sure things are being shown from all sorts of different angles on my tables. I may put some more moss in between here to make it a little bit more fluffy. Using another silver bowl, a little bit of a moss, and maybe the nest with the eggs in there. Again, using them in different ways. I think I'm just gonna put it, maybe just double them down here. Okay, I'm gonna move things a little bit out of the picture and see if I wanna play them differently. I actually really like using this and putting this other nest in there. It kind of looked really cool and Eastery. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the similar color with the blue in here. Using a little bit more moss. Okay, think I'm gonna put them right over here. Just to... There you go. Cute. All right, let's not forget about bunnies, because Easter is all about bunnies and they're super cute. I have these little ones from a long time ago, but it just matches the style and the colors here. I'm gonna go ahead and put them right in the center just to give them a little presence of its own and make them a little bit of a centerpiece, and sort of like hide them in between the drapes and the cloth, and sort of like let the design be as is. As I said, I love asymmetrical designs. So I may tweak these a little bit, move them a little bit closer to each other so they are a little bit, you know, closer, but have a little nicer flow as a whole when you're looking at them. But I don't like making it super busy and messy into a table, because we already have so much florals and so much like repetition in our elements, like the eggs and the nests and the blooms. It's always nice to keep that kind of going and then have one beautiful centerpiece that is a main element of the occasion, in this case obviously Easter, and then sort of like have everything else kind of flow and play and have a nice movement. I can totally see this to be a table center on your dining table. I can see this to be on your countertop in like a nice tray. You don't necessarily need to have all of these all in the same space, but you can kind of like have this grouping in one section of your home, this in a little bit of a different section in your entrance table, like a console or whatever that you may be having, or a coffee table. So this idea sort of like is really nice to play and mix and match and use them in different various ways in your home. But also as a whole, you can kind of create and keep repeating the similar elements and make it a bigger look as you wish. And if you are having a rounder dining table, again, you can just group these babies, put some candles and bunnies, and sort of like making them into a round, nice setting. Let's not forget about these cute bunny tails. How can you have an Easter table without bunny tails? I mean, we have the bunnies, and these beautiful flowers, dried flowers, are called bunny tails. And I found these cute little pot vases at my studio that is just perfectly aligned with my colors. So I'm actually gonna go with using the same color into the same vase as is. Super simple, super cute, just like that. What I love about bunny tails is that they're so simple, they're so fragile and so thin, but they just create such a presence and impact into every table. Even if you were just to put a whole bunch of these cute little vases next to each other, they just will be so beautiful and so fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and place them sort of like in a way that it's impactful and playful, and creates this beautiful movement into the table. The colors, I love them. All right, just like that. I think that's where I want them to be. All right. So cute. Just look. As you have noticed, it has made a huge difference. Just two cute little vases with the beautiful bunny tail, different heights and different colors. It definitely has united all the colors together and has just brought so much goodness to the table and movement, and again, aligning with the whole like bunny and bunny tail idea. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit from all the little tips and tricks and how you can put your Easter or spring table together with just few simple ways of different elements, repetition and colors. You can just create something super artful, super fun for your homes. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, let me know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to see you guys next time. Lots of love. Happy Easter.